Hey, welcome to That Shiro Life podcast. I'm Burnett Sherman, your host and the creator of That Shiro Life, helping women show up as Shiros in their lives with more wellness, joy, and love. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us, meaning me and the guests who will be here momentarily. And thank you for being here. Hey, Shiros. Like I said, another wonderful guest. Today, I am here with the Emily Rogers from Leap to Lead, the Leap to Lead. Emily is a highly skilled transition and leadership coach. She has a passion for empowering individuals and organizations to reach their full potential. Now, she didn't want me to say all of this, but I have to because it's so awesome. She's known for her genuine passion for helping others. Emily offers a supportive and transformative coaching experience that empowers you to create meaningful and lasting change in your life and your career. Now, how good and awesome is that? I'm so happy to have you here, Emily. Thank you for joining me on that Shiro Life podcast.
Thank you, Bennett. So
Yes.
excited to be here.
Yes, we're going to get into this. I think you've got this amazing story. I had a chance to read some of your information about your journey and how you wound up here. And I think it was about 5 years ago. So let's go back past 5 years. What's your origin story when it comes to this?
Absolutely. Do you know, I hate listening to the description of myself. It just,
I know it.
I'm a woman, you know, you hear things about yourself and you go, oh my God. But
So I
thank
had
you
to
for
do
sharing
it.
that, Drew. My story, I had a career in human resources. I married my husband and then we got told we were being moved to Asia. And we're in New Zealand, by the way. I'm Australian, he's a Kiwi. And we were moving into Asia 2 weeks after our wedding, we got told. So we headed into Hong Kong, which was a great place to live and work as a young couple. And I was able to continue my HR career. And then he got transferred to Mumbai in India. And that coincided with having our first daughter. So that was okay. I accepted that I didn't need to work immediately. And then we moved to Delhi, and that coincided with having my second daughter. So that's okay. I didn't need to work. I still did other things, but lots of volunteering and getting involved in the community. But I was like, okay, all right. And then we got moved to Chongqing in China, which is way out west in China, second tier city. Nobody speaks English. I definitely couldn't work there. And so it was like, okay. So again, I volunteered. I led the parent organization at the school. You know, I got involved. And then he got moved to Taiwan. About every 2 years we got moved to Taiwan. And again, you know, I thought, okay, this is my chance. I was ready. My kids were in full-time school. They were old enough to be a little bit more independent. Okay, I'm going to go back to the workforce. And I couldn't read the local legislation. And so from a HR perspective, I still couldn't work. And I was like, do you know what? This is just crazy. I'd have to do something for myself. You know, I've been volunteering. I'd been with NGOs. I'd done work with expat community groups. I'd been involved in the schools. I'd done so many wonderful things. But there comes a point where you go, actually, I need something for me. I have to have something for me. And I decided at that point to start my business. But what's really key is at that point, I was getting angry and I was starting to take it out of my family. And I think a lot of us as women, we go through life transitions and we don't recognize that it's happening. I know mine were quite extreme. Not everybody's going to be that extreme.
Every 2 years. Yes.
It doesn't have to be that extreme, but life transitions happen and they happen to all of us, whether you're getting married, you're having kids, you move states, maybe you move house. It's all life transitions.
Or you do all of those at the same time, kind of like you did.
Yeah. It's fine. And we do, we get on with it.
You got to master this transition thing in the moments.
But we do, and as women, we know we get on with it. We carry that load, we make it happen, we settle the family, you know, whatever's happening, we just move through transitions. And I think there's too many women moving through it, not recognizing it, and then starting in those spirals and beating themselves up and not understanding what's going on internally. So that's how my journey led to me starting my business. But it's about life transition. It doesn't have to be that extreme.
Well, you know what? And I think One, wow. Like that's a lot of change that happens, and you think once you get settled and you get back up again and you're changing again. And you're right, it doesn't have to be that extreme, but I'm sure we can all relate to we're going along with our normal lives and some bump hits and
Yes.
we've got to course correct and we're like trying to figure out what we're going to do.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
yeah.
and recognizing that every shift in life, it shifts you internally. So every time something's happening in your life, and as you know, lots of examples, your kids might start full-time school, you might have a parent die, lots of things are happening for women of our age where it
Mhm.
is shifting our life. Something shifts internally. And if we're not paying attention, if we're not tuning into that and just adjusting ourselves as it happens, then we do go into negative spirals. And the more we ignore ourselves, the worse those spirals can be.
I want to talk about that some more because I'm sure you've got some expertise around this, especially being able to pair your personal experiences and your professional experiences from HR. You've probably understanding how people work, just like how people work and how people function. um, because when that happens, I know I went through transitions. Like when my son went to school, I was like, okay, I have time.
Now what?
Who do I want to be? Who am I going to be when I grow up this time?
Yep,
Like,
yep, absolutely.
so what do you think women, when you're in these middle years and you could be going, you're sandwiched in between children and parents and changing careers and all of this stuff that happens.
Yeah.
What would you say um, you can do? What advice would you give to someone?
And that, nobody, you've touched on so much in that piece there, because nobody tells us how hard this part of life is, where we are sandwiched between aging parents and kids. And, we think as they're babies, we need to be there and you've got to take that time off work and all the rest of it. But actually, it's as they start into school, my girls are now becoming teenagers, and it's more important that I'm there for them. My dad died a couple of years ago, and it's more important I'm there for my mum now. Like, there's a
Mm,
whole nobody tells us how hard this period of our life is going to be, let alone changing careers, returning to work, starting your own business, whatever else is happening. Nobody tells us how hard this part of our life is going to be. So I think if anyone's listening to this and they're experiencing some of that pressure, recognize that it's normal to start with, and that we all go through it and we will come out the other side. We
mhm.
just need to look after ourselves and tune into ourselves during that period. If you're ignoring yourself, then it will be showing up in your life. You'll be overindulging, binging Netflix, or having that extra glass of wine when you know you shouldn't, or getting that block of chocolate out just because you can. You'll be ignoring your exercise. You might be yelling at your kids. You might be getting a bit sarcastic with your partner. These are all signs that something internally is off. And so if you're listening to this and you think, oh, that's me, then just take a moment now, take a deep breath and say, okay, now I know I can move forward.
Like,
Yeah, let it go. Breathe in and breathe out.
yeah. And I want to add a little bit to that because one of the things, we also a lot of times in our culture don't talk about until you're in the midst of it hardcore is menopause and the effect that that plays on all of those emotional things as well. So
Yeah,
you pair all this other stuff you just mentioned with our changing body, and it's
absolutely.
we're like,
Absolutely. You
yeah.
can't sleep because you're sweating. You've
So
got
then you're
motion.
irritable, and then you're like, even more, how am I going to take care of myself? And I'm irritable, and don't talk to me. It's it's a
Yeah,
lot. So taking a
yeah,
beat, taking a
yeah,
moment, and recognizing that you got to take care of yourself. You would say that's really important for women to do.
yeah.
Is there something in some way? Because I can imagine someone says, "Well, okay, I've taken the deep breath."
Yes. Now what? So it is actually a simple process, and I'm saying it's simple not to be arrogant. I can't think of the right word, but not to be arrogant. It is a simple process. it's not an easy process. So I want people to, just take a moment, take that breath, let go of that. Okay, now I know this is where I'm at, I can move forward. And the first step of that process is to know your strengths. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what your outcome is that you're looking for. You don't even have to know what that is yet. Just accept that something in you needs to change and be open to that change and dig into your strengths. Now, I know as women, that's not something we do well. I joked about listening to my own bio. I hate listening to it because we don't like acknowledging our strengths. We don't
And that's
enjoy
why I read it. That's why I read it. Because we have to get better at
it.
hearing, right? Like, yes.
Yeah. So we don't enjoy that. So if you are like me and you struggle with acknowledging your own strengths, then there's a process you can do which is really fun, and you can do it with your kids if you want to make it a game that you all play together. Get a bunch of post-it notes, your Sharpies, we all love stationery, put your favorite music on and set a timer for 10 minutes. And just write down absolutely everything you can do, every skill, every experience, every negotiating with your daughter while she can't have a cell phone, managing your son's soccer team, everything you do, every skill involved, communication, negotiation. You might have some specific hobbies. Maybe you had a professional career that required certain skills. Put them all down on post-it notes without judgment. And this is absolutely key. Let judgment go. Just impulse. That's why the timer's on. You've only got 10 minutes. Absolutely everything has to go down. At the end of 10 minutes, you can reset your playlist, reset your timer, and then group what you've put down and see where the most post-it notes come together. And that's probably going to be one of your strengths. And so you can start to recognize the trends and the themes and bring them together. You're only looking for 3 strengths, 4 if you really have to, and you can't decide between a couple, but 3 or 4 things that are your key strengths. It's a simple process. Make it fun. And the key is without judgment.
I could see, yeah, because I could see you second guessing in the moment, but the timer
Yeah.
and just doing as fast as you can.
Yeah.
That could
And
really
if you hear
help.
yourself saying, really, it's good, other people are better than me, if you hear yourself starting to say those things, it's a chemical reaction in your brain. It's something that's going to happen. It means you're judging yourself. And so you've just got to say, I'm just working with the timer. I'm just working with the timer, and just keep going and listen to the music and just keep putting things down, and it will help you let go of that judgment of yourself as well.
I like that idea. I wish I would have known about that. Like,
It is fun. And if you've got kids, I mean, especially younger kids, they're going to love doing it with you. You don't have to tell them why you're doing it.
I may do it with you have a 21-year-old daughter who's
Yes.
in college.
Yes.
Like, that would be an awesome exercise for her. And even for my younger son, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, we're gonna post-it note our
We're just going to find some strengths. Let's just get into this.
Let's get in there
Let's
and
have a
do
party.
it. Yeah.
When you know those key strengths, there's 2 key questions to ask yourself. How do I want my strengths to show up in my life? And how do I want to use these strengths to serve? And so you've got those 3 or 4 things. How do I want these to show up in my life? And how do I want to use these to serve? Serve me, serve my community, serve my church, serve my family, serve my workplace, whatever it is. How do I want them to show up? And how do I want to use them to serve?
Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go, you go.
I understand, Emily, the how do I want to use them to serve. I'm not sure I'm clear on how do I want them to show up in my life, or how do I want them to show up?
How do I want to leverage these strengths? So if my strength is communication, how do I want to leverage that in my life? Can I change the way I'm communicating to pull this strength through more? Can I do something as a hobby that pulls this strength into my life more? Can I use this strength to guide my next lot of decisions? What does it mean for me to have this strength in my life?
And just like your day-to-day being who you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And because not everything we do is about our careers or our businesses or our vocation. It could be about, you as a spiritual being, what does it mean for me to have this strength?
Right. Okay.
Is that sitting with you?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
pondering that.
I am. It's something to think about because we often, we have strengths that we don't even consider, right? Right. And we're
Yeah.
using them in our lives. But if
Yes.
we call attention to something, then suddenly we're much more aware of it. And
Yes.
once you're aware of it, you're going to be much more likely to do something about it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it could be, if communication is one of mine, how do I communicate with the person at the grocery store? How do I communicate with my children? How do I communicate in my work? How do I communicate in all areas of my life? And really letting those strengths flow through. And so
Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then thinking about how you want to use them to serve will guide you into the next piece of the puzzle, which is, what are you truly passionate about? What lights you up? What can you talk about for hours? If people look to you, what do they see when you're glowing? When is it that that comes into you? So these are my strengths. I've answered those two key questions. What are my passions?
Mm.
And then you can build the puzzle for yourself and decide what it is. And so when you're feeling that, what we talk about, that uncomfortableness, and you're taking it out on yourself, you're taking it out on your family, if you take a step back and go through this process of my strengths, deciding how you want to serve, how do these want to show up? What are my passions? What really lights me up? For me, empowering women absolutely lights me up. Doing this with you right now lights me up. Then bring that together. What does that look like for me? And it could be, for some of my clients, rediscovering hobbies that they can then bring this to life in. It could be actually going for that promotion that they've always thought was out of their reach. It could be, actually, this is a business I want to start. This is something I want to do to serve for myself and for other people, to have an impact in this space. It could be going and learning a new skill. Actually, I want to go back to university. I want to go and learn this skill. It could be volunteering. It could be anything. Because when shifts happen in our life, when those transitions are happening in our life, we shift. Purpose shifts.
Mhm.
And when we're not aligned with our values and our purpose, we are taking it out on ourselves. We are taking it out on our family through those different examples we explored.
Right.
So you're going to then put the puzzle pieces together to rediscover you, to move forward.
I like that because you're right, we do. It becomes frustration, this inner frustration that just manifests on the outside and on the
Yes.
inside. So it
Yes.
manifests in multiple ways, but we
Yeah.
do. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it because when you do align yourself with your purpose, then you can show up in those higher, greater ways.
Yes.
And in my opinion, you can start creating that epic life that Cheryl had.
You
Yes.
can be the Shiro in your own life.
Yes. Yes.
And they are simple steps. As I said at the start, they are very simple steps, but it's not easy. So it is going to require you to let go of a lot of baggage that you're carrying in your head. It's going to require you to actually say, okay, I'm in a normal phase of life right now. That's okay. I'm ready to move forward now. And just acknowledge, accept, and then, make it happen for yourself. Because every step of life, we have choices. We can choose to just say, oh, this always happens to me. Oh, somebody else gets all the luck. We can choose to, be a victim to what's happening to us, or we can choose to step up and show up and start to own who it is we want to be and what's going to be meaningful for us going forward.
Right. Right. And there's that choice right there, that power of choice
Yes.
that we all have, regardless of our
Yes.
situations. There's some choices that we can still make.
Yes. Yeah.
And doing that exercise, as you said, the steps are simple. I understand, like, it's
Yeah.
not easy.
No, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But if you literally think of it I'm putting my puzzle pieces together now. So if you can go, okay, let it go. You know, we've said, let it go. Let go of all that head stuff you've got going on. This is normal. All women go through this at some point in midlife. It is completely normal. I'm just going to put my puzzle pieces back together. And so you start with the strengths piece. And when you've got that and you answer those two key questions, how do I want my strengths to show up and how do I want to use my strengths to serve? It will naturally open up this passion piece. So be open to what that is coming out for you. Be open to exploring that further. And then just bring the pieces of the puzzle together. So what does it look like? What do I do with this now?
And I think, I hope that the people listening, the women who hear this, and you ask yourselves these questions that Emily just asked, like, what are your strengths and how do they show up? And you do this exercise that you do that part where she's saying, don't judge.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff you probably have to let go of.
Yes.
As you're doing it.
And if you are in this phase, if you are listening to this and you go, okay, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to take these steps. There is a chemical reaction in your brain. You've probably talked about this on other episodes, the amygdala. It is a chemical reaction in your brain. There is nothing you can do to stop it. I call it Amy Gidala, the amygdala. Some clients call it Priscilla. Another one, it's the monkey on her back. It's a chemical reaction. You cannot turn off what Amy is saying. So the minute you start shifting yourself and going, okay, I'm ready to do this, no, it's really not the right time. You really should be focusing on your kids right now. Do you know what? There's other priorities you've got right now. You should be do you really deserve it? You know, these are the things that Amy's going to be saying. It's not the right time. You're not good enough. Other people need you. She's just going to be saying it. The reason she says it is not to be mean. She's not trying to be a mean girl. She's trying to protect you. It's the old fight or flight response. Used to, you know, cavemen, do I fight the lion? Do I run up the tree and hide from it? That's not our society anymore. So it comes through in the self-talk and the way we say things to ourselves internally. And if you can hear what Amy's saying to you, Priscilla, if that makes you feel better, if you can hear what she's saying to you, it's not because she wants to be mean. It's because she wants to keep you safe in this zone you're in right now, because that's what she knows and understands. And so the minute you try and move out of it, she's going to try and pull you back into it. So just hear Amy, acknowledge her. I can hear you, Amy. Thank you. But actually, I'm going to give it a go. I can hear you, Amy. Thank you. But it's not true. I can hear you, Amy. Thank you. But it's worth trying, surely. Like, you can just answer back to Amy. Give her a bit of talk back. Like, you don't want to hear from your kids, just talk back to Amy.
I like it. It's very interesting because she shows up anytime you challenge your status quo.
Absolutely.
I actually wrote a book that involved telling a story with a character that represented
Yes.
Amy. But it's a challenge. But like you said, talking back, recognition of what is happening gives us back some of the power that otherwise might be taken away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'll give you an example. My daughter's, playing tennis, and she was playing one of her first interclub games, and it wasn't going great for her. And she looked at me, she said, see, my backhand's terrible. I said, oh, no. Hang on a minute. No, come and get a sip of water. When you go for backhand, I want you to say to yourself, I'm learning and I'm getting better each time. She looked at me, she said, well, that's not true. I said, but it is. You're learning. And every time you hit a shot, you'll be getting better. She rolled her eyes at me, went back on the court, and what do you know? The backhand started going in. She ended up winning the game. And she looked at me afterwards. She said, why did that work? I said, because you were telling yourself you couldn't do it. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
We all do it. Our kids do it. We do it. We just have to hear it and acknowledge it and say, actually, I'm just going to give it a go. Actually, it's okay. I'm going to try.
I'm going to try. And that word try. I'm going to try.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give ourselves
knowing that you're not alone, knowing that everybody else is going through this, Doesn't matter what it looks like at the school gate, everybody else is going to go through this. Don't judge yourself by other people. You're normal.
And you can beat this.
And you can move forward.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can move forward. So the steps were, the post-it note exercise. Well, first taking the deep breath,
Yes.
and then the post-it note exercise. And then it sounds like really just thinking about what comes out of that and grouping it and saying, this is how this can show up in my day-to-day life. This is how I can use it to serve.
Yeah.
Are there other steps in the process to reclaiming who we are?
Once you know what that is, you just got to make an action plan, take action, put it down as a goal, make a vision for yourself. Once you know what that is, hold on to it and move forward towards it. And I think the key is, Oprah Winfrey says that, what is that next right thing? It's always going to feel hard. It's always going to feel overwhelming. What is that next right thing that you can do? That one thing you can do today. And for a lot of my clients, the first step is actually getting a diary out and working out where they're going to make time for themselves. Is it 15 minutes before the rest of the family wakes up? Is it 15 minutes before they have lunch? Is it half an hour here? Where is it that they're going to have time for themselves? Putting that in their diaries and making themselves a priority to then work on whatever that is that they're moving towards.
So basically putting themselves on their own calendar, putting themselves on their schedule as a priority, which is something we can often not even think about. It's like everything else happens.
And we're all busy. I mean, we've just talked about being in the sandwich. We've got aging parents, we've got kids that need us, we've got a whole lot going on. But if you don't do that first step of getting your diary out and working out, when am I going to do this? When are you going to do this 10-minute exercise, 20-minute exercise with the post-it notes? Put it in your diary. Right now, get your diary out. If you're listening to this, get your diary out and decide, when am I going to do that strength assessment? That could be your first step. Your second step is to go for a walk and meditate. What does that mean for me? How do I want this to show up in my life? How do I want to serve with these strengths? And then your next step is say, okay, I'm looking at this now. What is it? What actions do I have to take? Is it returning to work, going for a promotion, changing careers, getting a vacation? It could be anything. What is it? And then break that down into steps, but put them in your diary.
You have a plan. Basically,
yeah.
Have a plan and have time for your plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, a lot of the work I do with my clients is working through those first phases together. Once they know what the plan is, they're good to go.
Right.
Bit of accountability.
Those first 5 phases. Simple, not easy. But there's so much that is.
If you're listening to this, you can do it. Like if you are going, okay, I recognize that frustration in my life. I recognize that I'm taking it out of myself. I'm recognizing that. Let it go right now. Take that breath, get your diary out and decide, when am I going to do that strengths piece? It's going to take you a total of 20 minutes. And then maybe a nice long walk in the sunshine to meditate on those 2 key questions. When is it going to happen? Put it in your diary.
You hear that, ladies? Put it down, write it down, make it happen for yourselves, because no one else can start it. You have to do that. This is a you exercise. You can get help along the way after you've done some of it, but you are the only one who knows you like you do.
Yeah.
So,
And you can do other activities once you know that. You can do a vision board. You can do guided meditations. There's lots of things you can do to then decide that next passion piece. But that strength piece has to come first.
Yeah. And it has to come from you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to show up as the hero in your life, then you owe it to yourself to start there.
Yes. If you want to author it, you got literally this Chase, you got to write them down. You're going to be the author of your own story. You got to write this stuff down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So I want to give people a chance to connect with you, because I think, this is just the beginning of a process. And maybe they go home, or they're at home, or their desk on their lunch break or something, and they do this exercise. And then they wind up with this post-it notes and they've grouped them, or maybe they need help grouping because not everyone recognizes their own patterns,
Yes.
but you have post-it notes at least. Is there a way, I'm sure you can help,
Yes.
but is there, I'm sure there's something you can help them with. You also may have something they can get from you, but I want to give you a chance to talk about how people can connect with you, maybe get support from you, find
Yes.
you, all of that stuff. And I
Yep.
want to ask you, and I didn't ask you before, would you like a little message, a mini message from me, or would you like me to give one to the general group?
I'd love a mini message from you. Absolutely.
All right. So while you give them all the deets,
Yes. Okay.
I'm gonna do what I do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Bennett. Okay, so if you want to do the strengths assessment and that post-it note thing isn't working, I do have a free guide that you can download. Go to theleaptolead.com/guide and you can work through a workbook style process. If you're doing it and you feel stuck, then I do offer a free 30-minute clarity session. Go to theleaptolead.com/clarity and you can book that 30-minute session. Or connect with me on social and DM me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Leap to Lead, and we can connect there, or email me, emily@theleaptolead.com. And I'd love to help and support. As I said, this is my passion, and if you're watching or listening, you can hopefully hear that and see that, because I love empowering women and seeing women show up as their best in their lives. So if you want to connect, I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you, Emily. Hopefully people will take advantage of what the resources you just said, and they do the strengths assessment there, or they do the post-it
And
notes.
it's all free. It doesn't cost you anything. So just go do it.
Yeah. Just do it.
Do it.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, this has been fun. I've learned a lot. Thank you. I'm gonna try this with my children and see if they're open
I'd
to
love
it.
to hear how it goes.
Yeah. And see how it goes. I think my son, he's only 12. He may be like, Mom. But my daughter may be more open to it. We'll see. Or else I just, we'll see. Convince them this is really
Get the
fun.
right music. Get the right music and they'll be fine.
We're just gonna have a paper party. It's a paper party.
Join me.
Yeah, they think I'm cheesy enough as it is. I'm sure this will be no worse.
Brilliant.
Okay, so I just have a brief message which hopefully will resonate with you. And then part of it, I was told, is for you and every woman listening. So this is what it is. The middle years are calling on both you and your children. And I feel like, I don't know if you have a 15-year-old, but I feel like it's a 15-year-old.
She's almost 14. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So she looked, well, I guess in my image, she looks about 15. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay. It says, always be ready for the next change. That's the message that I got. That's for you, but also for everyone who is watching. Always be ready for the next change. What I'm hearing that means is things happen quickly, but when you have preparation, when you know your forethought, when you know who you are, you can show up with much more grace and ease. And you can take those transitions that Emily's talked about. You can take those transitions with more grace and ease and less stress. So
Yeah.
that is
Without
the
you.
message for you and everyone else watching. I
You
want
have
to
given
say thank you.
tingles all over, Burnett.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you. Thank you for joining me here, Emily. Thank you, everyone who is watching this and will watch this. I thank you now and in advance when you see this. please share it. If this resonates with you, if you found a piece of it, let us know what part of it resonated with you. What did you get from it? What did you like? And what do you want to know more about? So drop it in the comments of this or send me an email or message, look me up. Make sure you follow Emily. Make sure you look her up and connect with her, especially if you are going through this right now, because when we don't take care of ourselves and when we ignore those signals that our brain, our bodies are sending us, we start forming habits that are unhealthy, and we start doing things that are unhealthy for our long-term life. So please take care of yourselves. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Thank you, Emily, for being here all the way from New Zealand.
For having a minute. I've really, really enjoyed this. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. Wherever you are, we value your presence. We value you being here. Have a good time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.